Good evening. I'm so sorry. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. We're going to run our intro, and we'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week for Sisters of Legacy. So, tonight, it's going to be two. Um, It'll just be myself. I am Samantha Walker, and of course, to my right next to me, yeah, I don't know, is the wonderful Shanetta McNair. Shanetta,
Hello.
right? So we are here. Um, we did. Hi, husband. So we do have. I mean, generally there is four of us. Trina has started a new exciting venture, so she is reconfiguring her schedule. And then Vanessa is a hardworking woman tonight. So me and Shanette are gonna hold it down for the group. So as you can see, our title for this week is validation. Is it a necessary evil? And so okay, I'll explain that a little bit because I know people are like, well, there's really nothing wrong with validation. And you're right, there really isn't. The reason I call it, well, I said a necessary evil is because I feel like that has been the driving force for people. Like, in the morning and night, I don't feel like there's enough people that are doing things maybe for the sake of doing it, or because it's something in their heart, or because it's a kind gesture. I feel like most things that are done or even said now are for some sort of validation. Even online, we see people, they stop and they give to homeless people, or they buy them lunch, or they video themselves doing a kind gesture, or doing a good deed, like they're videoing it so they could post it. You see people, they get online, they're talking about their families, their churches, their whatever. Sometimes in a negative light, sometimes it's not negative, but they're on here sharing it for sometimes, some sort of validation. And I feel like it's like I don't know what, for me, when your motive or when your goal is wrong, it messes up the whole idea. Like, if my goal is just so people can see me and tell me how great I am, for me personally, I'm like, yeah, I need to check myself because that's not what I want. Like, I want to do things because it's in my heart. I want to do things because as a representation of who I am, the type of person I am, or a representation of what I believe. Like, I try really hard not to look for validation. Another reason why I think it's like it has become an evil thing is because in the instant when people don't get it how they're looking for it, they flip a switch. It goes from something that could have been nice or could have been decent, it turns into something ugly just that fast because um of their goal or their motive. So I figure what better place to talk about it than with you guys. So Shanetta, when I sent you the topic and you saw it, what was your first thought?
I think my first initial thought was focusing on the necessary evil part. It was just kind of like, necessary evil. What does that really fully mean? Um, let me think about the different definitions of validation. Like, what does validation mean? And in this sense, how will we be using it? I think that was like the biggest like question is like, what sense of validation are we going to be talking about? So hearing you explain it is just kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. I see where we're going with it. And so like needing someone or wanting or desiring someone or someone's to affirm the behaviors or affirm the actions that you are
Just
taking.
right, or just affirm you altogether.
Mhm,
Just wanting people to see you some kind of way.
mhm.
And often that goes to the left really quick, you know,
Right,
because again, you think, oh, I did this and everybody should see this. And then the moment people don't see it that way or don't respond the way you in your mind have played it out, for some people it leads them to depression. Some people have killed themselves because of that, like, not being validated in some way, not being affirmed, not being made to feel a certain type of way. So
right.
like that was, so it just kind of made me think about all of that, especially with the wonderful world of social media.
Yeah.
you know it's just taken on a whole new form.
I think that when we think about the acknowledgement that people are looking for in that sense where they're posting things because they want people to see it more so than having a genuine heart of doing whatever it is they're doing, I think that that's where it kind of teeters on that line of like the motives are wrong. Your heart
Right.
is not in it. You just want somebody to cheer you on and acknowledge you and say, "Oh, look at all the great things you're doing. Like, go you," versus a true heart that is truly, doing something because of the kindness or the genuineness in within yourself. Um, yeah, and then I look at the complete opposite side of it. To there are people who their love language is affirmation, words of affirmation. So they need for you, in order for them to feel love, they need for you to affirm the type of things that they do and who they are as a person. And I think that there's kind of like a line in between those two things where are you doing this because this is the way you communicate or
Right.
this is what you need in order to thrive, or are you doing this because you just want attention and you just want everybody to see what you're doing and you want the kudos and the cheers and the clout per se, that comes with, you know, being the one who helps the homeless and being the one who feeds the hungry and being the one who, does all the things. Like, what are you looking for?
Absolutely. So you were saying, with people, like, I'm sure everybody or most people have heard of kind of five love languages. And you mentioned like your love language or a person's love language,
And not
you know.
mine.
No, no, I know. I was just saying, like, yeah, like a person's love language, can be words of affirmation. So, like for me, I still feel like in some ways you're almost backing your mate into a corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what if, that's something that I struggle with. Not showing you that I appreciate you, not showing you love and catering to you, but just being able to verbalize it. Like that's something that can really cause a divide even in a relationship, even in a marriage, because your need for that from someone else. And I think that's like for me where more of like the evil part of it comes in,
Yeah.
because I feel like for the most part the things that I need, like I have to be in a place where I can give them to myself. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
depending on someone else to make me whole or make me feel whole, I feel like that's too much power to give to anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I buy somebody lunch at work, and you know, whether anybody else knows or whatever, like they don't say thank you, they don't whatever, you know, now I'm dreading every day going to work. You know, because you didn't say, you know, I didn't get the response that I wanted to get.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel like that's giving somebody a lot of power over you.
I definitely think that when like the person is, I guess, needy in that sense, where it's like, if I don't get this, this controls and
Right.
impacts my mood and how I'm able to move about in the world, because they didn't acknowledge this. I did that. Nobody said anything about it.
Right.
And now I'm devastated. I think that when it has that much control and that much power over you, that yes, that is a situation where like we might need to evaluate, why do you feel the need for everything you do to be acknowledged by others?
Right.
Is there not some sense of self-acknowledgement that you can give that can make you feel accomplished in what
Right.
you've done? Can you not affirm yourself? Can you not give yourself what you need? Why are your words of affirmation not enough, or validation not enough to satisfy you? Because I look at stuff that I do sometimes and I be like, girl, you did that. And I kind of
Right.
move on, minding my own business, didn't say it to anybody else, didn't ask anybody,
Right.
was I really good at this, or did I do a good job at this? I've kind of done pat on the back to myself and went on about my day. And if someone else acknowledges it, oh, thanks,
Right.
whatever, the appropriate response is in that, for whatever it was that I did, and kind of keep it moving versus needing and leaning and depending upon someone to say to me, you did a really good job at A, B, C, and D. I don't know. I think that's where it can become a little dangerous. But I mean, when we look at other areas of our life, do we look for someone else to fulfill those needs? I don't know. If your love language is something different, we done got to love languages.
Right.
If your love language is something different, are we looking to someone else to fulfill that need? Or is it something that we can do within and of ourselves? Or is it necessary that there be another person to affirm us or confirm or to do what it is? So with the love languages, you have words of affirmation, you have gifts.
Right.
Can I buy myself gifts? You have physical touch. We're not going to, stay there very long. You have, I mean, you have quality time. Can you spend quality time by yourself? So I don't know. Do you need somebody else in order to fulfill that need for love, or can you love yourself? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, so and this is I really think absolutely you can love yourself, but I do think when it gets into that intimate type of love, for that you do need another person. Like
Right.
I guess you can fulfill all your own needs, but hey, that's something that you would have to work out. But I think, when it gets to that intimate part of love, I think you do need somebody else, to fulfill that part of it. But like, I don't know, I feel like it's such a slippery slope. Like I
Yeah.
scroll, the internet, just like I'm sure everybody scroll. You probably gonna scroll past us a couple of times. Like we scroll the internet and you see people that have millions of dollars, and they talk about how they felt suicidal because they put up a picture that they thought was beautiful or they thought was great, and people picked the picture apart. Like nobody validated, like, oh girl, that's pretty, or not enough people validated it, or not enough people hit the like button or hit the heart, and they talk about with everything that they have and all the things that they have accomplished in other areas, they felt suicidal. Now all of a sudden, because people aren't validating, you or your stance,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like life is not worth living.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like,
That I think that's the place where it's kind of like where that slippery slope that you
right,
kind of said is that you can't allow the words and the validation or the affirmations of other people to make you feel devalued, to
right,
make you feel less than. Um, because we all have a different way of how we view and see things. So you
right.
can't say, oh, well, just because you didn't tell me that I was beautiful. If I waited to hear how beautiful I was or how perfect I looked before I felt like I actually looked great sometimes. Not that my husband doesn't compliment me, not that other people don't compliment me, but I also work with middle schoolers. Those people will tear you down so fast. And like if you are looking for validation of certain things, like they will eat you alive. I be minding my own business sometimes, and they be like, Miss McNair, why did you decide to wear them purple Crocs today? And I be like, mind your business. My Crocs are comfortable. And they will go in about my whole entire outfit, all starting from a shoe. Like, I didn't even ask y'all nothing. Mind your business. So it starts early in life. Like children are brutal. So that need for someone to tell you and to constantly affirm who you are, if you don't really get it down on the inside at an early age, you'll go through this life suffering. You really will. Like I have a little girl who's currently in summer school with me. Before school got out, she said to me, Miss McNair, your hair is 3 different colors. It was so random. She just walked up to me and was like, your hair is 3 different colors. And I was like, and she was like, I like the brown part and I like the black part, but you need to dye all that gray hair that you got up there. Little girl, get away from me. Yesterday, same little girl in summer school walked up to me again and said, I told you to dye your hair. What is wrong with you? Why is your hair still 3?
Exactly why you in summer school. Because you know,
I'm looking for affirmation from this 13-year-old little girl, ma'am. Like my feelings are crushed and I'm hurt and I'm devastated. And I'm now about to go home feeling self-conscious about myself, you know. You can't always depend on what other people have to say about you, your situation, what you've done, what you've accomplished in order to feel like you've done something or feel like you are somebody.
right. So, you know, like a big part of for in my mind anyway, a big part of, you know, validation is kind of the response you get from people. And very, 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 very often, at
Mm-hmm.
least once a day. Like I totally just bewilder people. And it is really not on purpose. Like sometimes I really don't understand what it is they're looking for. Like, you know, if you come to me and say something, not blah, blah, oh, okay. And then, you know, move forward. And people like,
No, they want you to jump for joy and
yeah,
shout from the mountaintops.
and I sometimes like even in my job, I've had instances where, you know, somebody say something and they're looking for something. And I was like, I heard you. And then like, you know, I'm like, okay, I said I heard you. I have ears here. You're talking. Like I struggle to like, and I know I'm probably causing somebody to feel very invalidated because it and afterwards I'm always thinking like, was I supposed to do or say something different? Like, you know, I don't want to be like cause people to have one of them soul crushing moments, you know, but like sometimes I really don't like understand even that, you know, sometimes when I see people I'm just like, and it's so crazy because like I was at well, it was yeah, like a birthday party or whatever. And I happened to have my son, he was there for a little while. And I saw people talking to him. And I'm just looking at his response. And for me, it was like perfectly normal. I'm like, yeah, he is my child. But to other people, like they just study trying to get more in his face to say whatever it is that they're saying, and he's just like, I heard you. Like, and I'm just like I think about those things. Like, what is like, I don't, am I being the bad friend? Like, am I being the bad person here because I'm not validating, you know, I don't know. I struggle with that sometimes.
No, I think that you have to know, like, I mean, that you're not going to get a hip hip hooray out of everybody. They hear you like, oh, that's cool, that's nice, and like they're okay with it. Or like you're not gonna get like a snap, crackle, and pop out of everybody with everything that you present. Like, I'm hearing you, I'm listening to you. Whereas there are some personalities where you're going to get all the dramatics, and you know that they have a flair for the dramatics, so you're going to get it, right?
Right, right.
I am the flair for the dramatics. So
Yeah.
someone could tell me and you the exact same thing, and they're going to get two totally different reactions.
Absolutely.
They're going to get the flair from me. And they're gonna get the, I got you. Okay, I hear you. And it's, I mean, like, but we're both responsive to the exact same thing, and we'll probably go forward and run with whatever has been said and move forward with whatever has been said in the same way. It's just the reaction that you get out of it. And I think that that's one of the key things that the true problem is that we live in a society now where everybody gets a trophy for everything. So people are used to being celebrated for normal stuff. And so now you're out here looking for people to validate you for doing what you were supposed to do.
Anyway,
versus doing something spectacular. Whereas when we were younger, I think that acknowledgement and validation and affirmation came from doing the great things,
right?
From going over and beyond. Right. And now you have a subgroup of people that are being taught that everything you do should be celebrated. So you woke up this morning, you opened your eyes, oh my gosh, yay, good morning. And we're like, over celebrating everything. Right. And I think that that impacts some people with the over that we do, that we have been kind of like naturally moving towards. I think that has some people like kind of off base as to what should be validated, affirmed, and acknowledged as to what's just expected and what's normal. Like it's certain things like you're supposed to do, and it's like you should have done that. Okay, thank you for doing that. You were supposed to. Have a nice day. Versus like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You did A, B, C, and D, and it's like you were supposed to do that. So like, I don't know. I don't want to. But for me, you might absolutely get all the flair for dramatics when you did what you were supposed to do. I'm the problem. It's me. I'm the problem.
You said to me, like, it may have been like maybe about a week or two ago. You was like, the problem is I keep expecting me from other people. And I think sometimes we have very misguided expectations.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm trying to do stuff, well, you've been around, like, I do stuff and I'd be like, oh, like that didn't come out nowhere near like the way that I wanted it to. And everybody be like, oh, that was great. And I'm like, no, because for me, I'm feeling like I could have done it better. Right. Like what you said, okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you, whatever. Like, but I'm looking for me to feel like, yeah, girl, okay, we nailed it. Like,
right.
I try to stick with that, because the first time that I'm looking for everybody to be like, oh, that was great, and they don't, then I'll be in my feelings all day. We'll be at a function. You be like, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm just all fine and plain. Like, I feel like, it's don't put people and yourself in that kind of position. Like, learn how to high five yourself. what is it? I think that's a song, right? Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you really do have to be your own cheerleader. Like I remember when Lexus was little, she's a very sensitive child. She's like a sensitive dragon. So like 1 minute she's breathing fire, the very next minute she's crying. So like I had taught her this little, I don't know, like I guess a chant, a cheer, where she would say, like, yes, I'm fabulous. Look at me, I'm fabulous. Like if somebody was messing with her in school or whatever, I would tell her, girl, look, when they say something to you, just be like, yes, I'm fabulous. Look at, like, and I told her that like as a little girl, because I was like, you don't worry about what people say. It don't matter. Yeah, people gonna talk about it, they're gonna say it forever. So like she was trying out for the high school volleyball team. She had to do like an official tryout. And she was like, oh, my serves aren't good. My this ain't good. So I did like a voice, thing. And I was singing the thing to her while she
Aw.
was on the way um, to the rehearsal. Because I'm like reminding her, listen, I told her, focus on the
Mhm.
stuff you know. There are certain things that you know and that you can
Yeah.
do. Work hard on those, and then the things that you need to work on, work on those, but don't get stuck on how somebody may respond, because every serve don't go over the net.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, don't worry about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like you know the form, so make sure you got the form perfect on every serve. If it
Yeah.
make it over, bonus. Like if it doesn't, try harder next time. Like, and I try to remind her, like, validate yourself. Like I've learned the form, I've learned this. Like I try to remind her of that so that she doesn't get caught up in so much external chatter. It's
Yeah.
hard when you're a girl, especially she's going to high school this year. Some of these things high school's not for the weak.
No.
But you
It's
you
not.
gotta, you have to have tough skin.
Yeah.
Like AJ, half the time he not listening to you anyway. So anything you say to him, I can assure you he probably didn't even hear you. Because he just told people out. But her, she's very different. Like she tries to
Mhm.
be kind and she tries to love on everybody. And oh, my friend, and oh, buddy. But sometimes things go bad, and I
Yeah.
try to get her to focus, on that. Like it's so important to I know the new trend is to talk about self-love, and it sound good. And I hear a lot of people say it, but then you still on Facebook in a little bathing suit showing your self-love because you want people,
To
you want
acknowledge
people
you. Yeah. To say
right.
it too.
You want other people to click it and to like it. You want other people to tell you how great you are. And you may be great. You
Mhm.
might be. But sometimes
Everybody is not going to always see it that way.
right.
And that's okay. I don't have to be great to you. As long as I'm entertained and great within myself, I'm good. I laugh at my own jokes. I want to say at least 5 times today, I literally giggled by myself in front of a whole room full of kids. And they were looking at me like, what? I was minding my own business. And I was perfectly fine. I didn't need for anybody else to join in with me. And I think that that's a key skill that, especially with young girls, that you have to teach them, is that it doesn't matter if anybody else is saying, "Ooh, you look pretty. Ooh, you look great." You have to have that, yes, I'm fabulous within yourself, and just go with it and be okay with who you are. And I think that it goes back to self-esteem when we're talking about validation and we're talking about affirmation and somebody else acknowledging you besides you being okay with yourself. It goes back to that inner self-esteem too.
Right.
Like, what do you think about you? Does it matter what other people think about you? Like, do you really need that? And that was key for me with raising my daughter. The boys too, but I think it's so different with girls. Um, the boys, yeah, like, but I think after certain things with boys, like they gain a different kind of confidence and they just
Your
don't.
boys are brutal.
My boys are arrogant.
I love them, but they are interested.
They're
I
a
be
little
like,
arrogant, I love them, but
right,
they're mine. But yeah, they are very interesting people. But it's different with girls. You have to
right,
really build it up in them.
right,
And I think that there are moments where other people do intentionally try to tear it down. And
right,
you have to like remind them, hey, we're not letting anybody do that to us. Let me let me fix your crown,
right.
because let me remind you of who you are and whose you are. So like we're not doing any of that. So I do think that it's a little different with girls when you're trying to instill those things in them. But yeah, boys, I don't know. And I really don't know how my boys became so confident. That's the word.
Listen,
Like I put it there, but some days I'd be like, I don't really know that that's what I was trying to teach you, but that's what you got out of the lesson. So, we're going to go with it.
so okay, are there any tips you feel like you could give someone in terms of um self-validation? I know that don't really go together and I'm putting stuff together, but you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like
I think the way we talk to ourselves is important. The way and that sounds a little wonky to say too, like the way you talk to yourself, but I think that when you have your internal voice matters, and a lot of times our internal voices come from childhood experiences, and it
mm,
comes from maybe our parents, or maybe the person that bullied us, or maybe our older siblings or younger siblings, or people who picked on us. And we're telling ourselves so many things in our head. We're telling ourselves so many times within our head, I'm not good enough. I'm not great enough. I'm not going to be able to do this. And I think that the more you change that, and the more you look at yourself and love yourself, and the more that you value who you are, that it begins to create a shift in what you need from other people.
right.
Um, I did a session a few weeks ago, and in the session, we were talking about the value of a woman. And at the end, we had the women to do two things. One of the things was to look in the mirror and to speak to themselves in a positive way. And the other thing was the crowning of the women, where each woman was given a crown and reminded how special she was, and how beautiful she was, and how much God loved her, and how much she was valued to the women around her and to the people around her. And just kind of like those things where, yes, it was outsiders that were validating, but before anybody else could come in to validate you, you had to think about yourself, and you had to do
Right.
that within yourself. And that was super duper important to me, because it just kind of, even being a facilitator, reminded me about how I speak to myself.
Right.
And I laugh and I joke about things that I don't think I can do. And sometimes I even cry about the things that I think I can't do. But in all actuality, I know I'm pretty amazing. And sometimes I have to square my shoulders and sit my head up and remind myself that, girl, God didn't put you here the way you are for somebody to walk over you and tell you that you're not good enough. Absolutely not. We're not going to tolerate that. And I think that that's what we have to learn how to do. It's how you talk to yourself. You are going to be what you say. And if
Right.
you say that you are not worthy, if you say that you can't do it, if you say that you're not good enough, that's all you're going to be. But when you start changing that and you start talking to yourself the right way,
Right.
it changes.
Absolutely. I definitely I totally agree with the whole, how you speak to yourself and how much that matters. I would say if I was going to give somebody a tip, I would say um to like for to validate myself, I had to accept who I am. Not that I'm perfect, not that I even do everything perfect, but like I accept who I am, and then also acknowledge the things I want to work on. Like I get it, like this is who I am. These things about me, are parts of who I am, and it's okay. It's okay if sometimes my face is saying get out of here, and even though that's not really, whatever, that may be one of the things I need to work on, but I'm not going to convince myself I'm a terrible person because
right,
like this is where we are. This is where we are. We just, those are things that I need to work on. So like me, it was more accepting, the things about Samantha that are constant today. Maybe they'll change, maybe the things that I'm gonna work on, but this is who I am. And then also acknowledging that I gave it my all, whatever it is. Like when I set out to do something, I start trying to plan how I could do it. I envision in my mind what I would like it to look like upon completion, or how I would like it to end, or all of those things. And so in that process though, like I'm giving it my all. And so even if I look and it's on the ground and it's all broken, like I've learned to be able to walk away and be like, you did your best. Like it was an off day. Like if I bake a cake and it's linked to one side, guess what? Girl, you baked that cake. Did it taste good? It may be a little lopsided and it's not, what I thought it would be, but I did it. I got the taste right.
Cakes we've eaten.
Right. Well, I got the taste right, and it may be like minuscule things, but it's the way that I've learned how to make sure that I don't allow what somebody else thinks, to be how I see myself. Because somebody's gonna walk in and be like, "Oh, I'm not eating that cake. Yeah, that look a mess," and it's good to me. Like, and I've learned to be okay with that. I've learned to be okay. Sometimes when you get dressed and you're standing there, you're like, okay, this ain't it. And you can go through a bunch of outfits, and then you'll put on something and be like, okay, this the one for today. Right. This one we're gonna go with, and I feel good. And then you're off to the races. So I feel like, that just acknowledging, okay, today's a bad hair day, but we're gonna wrap this puppy up, or slap a wig on, or slap a hat on, and we ready for the world. Just kind of acknowledging where I am and giving it my best. I show up at work. Some days, I don't know how worky I'm feeling today, but I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna give it my all, and hopefully by the end of the day, I still got a job, because some days it be like that.
Yep. I would absolutely agree with that. Like, we just gonna go with it. And listen, you talked about like even trying on something different and saying we just gonna, until we figure it out. Sometimes I don't even do that much. I'm just like, I don't think it looks that great. I'm okay with that. We're gonna go on and get out this door with whatever we have. Whatever I put on this body is what's gonna work today, is what it's gonna be. Let's go. Let's roll with it. Let's just make it work. And then you get out there, and then sometimes when you need the validation, when you don't feel your best, that's when you get it. That's when somebody is like, oh my God, look at you. That is so cute. I love how you did that. Or that looks good on you. And you're like, I feel like crap. Thank you very much for that. Like, you have no idea. So sometimes it pays to like just be kind to somebody, because you never know what they went through before they got to where you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it always and I also find that sometimes validating someone else makes me feel good. Like I'm having a crappy day and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Oh, you look good today. Oh, whatever it may be in that moment. And I can feel like crap. Like I don't feel it. I don't want to be here. I really don't want to see your face. But you know what? I'm gonna say something nice to you. Like reminding you that, oh, you look great today. And then I'm like, well, girl, we don't look too bad ourselves. Right. And then you're able to move on through the day. So yeah, sometimes that extra act of kindness can become twofold. You didn't even you didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
So I know that June apparently is mental health month,
Okay.
right? I think that's what I heard. If not, this is always valid. Mental health awareness. I think it's down 988. I think my husband always says if you're having a mental health crisis or you need some kind of assistance, somebody to talk you through your moment, it is definitely 988.
Okay.
That is a good nugget to know.
It is.
For not just for mental health awareness month, but just always, because sometimes we see things that are out of the norm, we're quick to call 911 and that's not always the answer. But
Mhm.
988 are professionals that deal with mental issues or breakdowns or episodes, and I think they're better suited to help you in those situations. Next Thursday we will not be on because I would be going to see Jesus. Now, we have service next week, so we will not be on next Thursday, but we will be returning the following Thursday. We do have some things coming up. We're going to be having a doctor coming on like once a month, maybe more, to answer some of them questions that you may have, just to talk about the everyday life of being a doctor and a woman of color in a field that may not have a lot of them.
Mhm.
So she'll be coming on shortly and be with us. So that is something to look forward to. As I said before, we are working on being consistent. So when we can be here, we definitely will. Outside of next week, because I do have a prior responsibility. So as always, Shanetta, any last words?
That was good.
Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching us on a replay, we appreciate it. If you need somebody to validate you today, you are wonderful and unique, and there is somebody that you have met or will meet that is in need of all that you carry. So be encouraged and hold on to that little nugget, because when you meet that person, it's gonna be like, oh, okay, now some of this makes sense. So until the next time, as always, guys, stay safe. Bam.
Thank you for